Okay, well, I'm just reading the announcements. The meeting will be posted online on the Township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the Township website. It is requested that all persons who wish to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes, unless such time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. Everybody on the roll call is present. Chief Cass is attending virtually, and Supervisor Yiser, I don't think he's on at all, is he? Is not able to attend the meeting this evening. We're going to start with administrative actions. We do not have any meeting minutes to approve this evening. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so this is the general fund performance through May 31st. Total revenue through the month of May was $1.507 million, which is $60,000 over budget, up 5.2% from last year. Total expense is $1.239 million, $51,715 under budget. That's up 55.7% from last year. I want to note, because I had a typo on the agenda, that the open space fund balance is actually $270,340, not $4,900. I was just checking to see if people were paying attention. General fund, the net income as of May 31st, 2024 is $267,640. The township's budgeted net income is $155,000. The performance is outperforming budget by 72.2% through May. Revenue is surpassing budget by 4.2%. The township is running on or above budget for most line items. Real estate transfer and building permits are well below budget. We have received 62.5% of our 2024 budgeted revenue. Township expenses are on or close to budget for most line items. Expenses are below budget by 4%. Expenses are under primarily for wages, health insurance, and legal. Expenses are over for building repair, public works, vehicle repair, property and liability insurance, engineering, police data system, admin office technology, planning, zoning, other service charges, and chief wages. We've spent 43.6% of our 2024 budgeted expense. There's no change in the capital reserve from last month. The sewer fund, sewer rental, sewer charge is up 1.4%, or it's 1.4% over budget. Overall revenue is surpassing budget by 8.4% or $47,000. We've received 20 connection tapping fees so far in 2024. As part of the Fulmer Road Riverside Avenue sewer extension connection, and we do have one property with 4 EDUs who's utilizing the payment plan. That's not part of the 20 connection tapping fee numbers that I previously stated. Expenses are on or below budget for most line items. Repair and maintenance is well below budget. Utilities is currently below budget, but this is an issue with PECO and their new billing since we haven't paid since February and won't until they fix their system. Sledge hauling, supplies, chemicals, sewer line extension, and insurance bonding are over budget. The fund made a refund for dormant EDUs, and the mid-year payment was made for the sewer plant extension loan in May. Sewer expenses are over budget by 5.2%. The net income is $347,170, which is $28,000 over budget. The fund has earned 50.4% of its revenue budget and spent 38% of its expense budget. Liquid fuels, the fund has earned 104.8% of its revenue budget and spent 16.5% of its expense budget. The actual net income is $111,844, which is $25,000 over budget. The materials portion of the 2024 oil and chip project was paid in May. The fund is over budget for snow and ice removal and under budget for paving, dash oil and chip. Regarding revenue, interest is $8,800 over budget through May. Open space, the net income is $47,991. Total available dollars with current allocation for property, Conservation Easement Grant and County Agricultural Preservation is $170,240. Expenses so far have been for EIT commission and appraisals. The ARPA COVID Relief Fund, the total available dollar with current allocation for the Montco 2040 grant, Zieglerville Road Drainage Project, Coble Park Phase 1, PD Remodeling Phase 1, and Stormwater Culvert projects is $121,380. There has been invoices for the Zieglerville Road Drainage Project. Sorry, Siri. And culvert replacement this year. Are there any questions?
Just to confirm, so the money, $121,380 in the ARPA Relief Fund, that is after the money that we have already allocated or spent, that is what is remaining, that is not yet allocated.
Correct, or the project hasn't been started. We have two projects that have not been started that we can discuss during the Zieglerville Road better.
But this amount of money has not yet been pegged to a specific project.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, that takes us to the payment of bills for the month of May. We have bills in the amount of $190,961.22 for the general fund. For the sewer fund, we have a total of $299,970.51. And out of that, $2,370 are for Sachs and Sons. So, and we also have another invoice for Sachs and Sons, so we can have two separate votes. In liquid fuels, $27,773.20. In open space, $4,900. And again, for our COVID relief, we have a total of $50,533.33. And Sachs and Sons, we need to write a check for $39,852.50. So the total for Sachs and Sons, if I can get this right, it looks like, oh gosh, $42,222.50. Can someone tell me if that's correct? I just did that by sight.
Use this thing, 2250.
42,222.50?
12, oh, yeah, sorry. 42222.
42,222.50.
I got that right. Cool. Okay. Gold star for my math skills. All right. So we need a, let's do the stuff that does not include Sachs and Sons first. And are you going to recuse yourself, Terry?
Yes, I'll recuse myself on the,
On those two, okay. So we need a vote to approve the general fund, the sewer fund, minus the Sachs and Sons invoice, liquid fuels, open space, and ARPA COVID relief, again, minus the Sachs and Sons. Can I have a motion to approve those bills?
Can I have a, this is minus the Sachs and Sons?
Yes, this is
Okay.
minus, yes. This is just, so it's minus the 2370 in the sewer fund and the 39,852.50 in the ARPA COVID relief.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that was unanimous. That is 3 votes, and we have 1 recusal and 1 supervisor is absent. All right.
My question is,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Sachs actually can vote on
Yes.
these since this is the one minus
Yes,
him.
you are correct. I apologize. I made a mistake. I did it backwards. So let's redo the vote. So this
you
is,
don't have to do the revote, let it the way it is. It's fine.
but you should vote on this since this does not include those. So that was my fault. So we'll redo the vote. We had a motion. You made the motion, right? Supervisor Byrd made the motion, Supervisor Halter made the second, and this is minus the Sachs and Sons invoices. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So let the record signify that the vote is 4-0, and we have 1 supervisor absent. So my apologies for completely mixing those up. All right, now we need a second vote just for the 2370 for the sewer fund and the 39,852.50 out of ARPA COVID relief, and those are just the Sachs and Sons invoices. Can I have a motion to pay those two bills?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
So we had Supervisor Holter made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And again, that vote shows 3 votes and 1 recusal, and we have 1 supervisor absent. Thank you for correcting me. All right, we're going to move on to professional and staff reports. Engineer.
This is Carol Schuler, Township Engineer. The first 3 items on my monthly report are items that also appear on later on the agenda, so I'll jump over those for now. As to informational, we have the Spring Mountain Road Sidewalk Project, the soft dig or the vacuum excavation to identify utility depths and locations is tentatively scheduled for this Thursday. Wanted to talk about chip seal. You had roughly 5 miles of township roads chip sealed this month. AMS returns this week to sweep any loose stones from the roads that have been sealed. The Melbourne Hill development, the developer's engineer is working with the sewer engineer to prepare an application for a DEP permit for the low-pressure force main. On the Zieglerville Road drainage, the work has been substantially completed. That storm sewer is operational. Remaining items include fence installation and restoration of a mulch garden bed. The sewer extension for Fulmer and Riverside, a notice of termination was submitted to close the NPDES permit. Pavement on the edge of Hollow Bush Road was also milled and topped. That's where there had been some damage due to storage of sewer project materials. So that's winding to a close. We're waiting for word back from the Conservation District on closing that permit. As to the flood barriers at the wastewater treatment plant, the shop drawings for the flood barriers were reviewed and approved. So it's my understanding those barriers are in factory production now. With the Sandbrook subdivision, the plans for installation of a trench drain across the Lot 2 driveway were approved on May 8th, and we are awaiting notice of the work schedule. At Loctite, conversion of the sediment basins into the stormwater BMPs was initiated this week. I've actually been out there and looked at that. And Gravel Pike or Lechmar, the site work is more or less on hold while they're waiting for the building installer to get out there. So those are the items that are new since my last report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on these items.
Any questions from the board? Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just a quick question on the Lechmar project. I noticed they're storing a lot of their equipment across the street at the former diner, and that's not really zoned for that activity, I don't believe. So question, is that something that our inspection person should be looking at? I mean, because they've now occupied a pretty good chunk, at least last time I looked, of the, like, to the far left, as you look at the big lot for that diner is to the far left. They
So I
got,
think that's actually, that's technically a zoning issue. It's not really part of the site plans and inspection that we're doing. So I really
Okay.
think that falls, Mr. Orff, to a zoning issue.
That
Okay.
is correct.
and
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know who would address the fact that they're leveraging a piece of property that's not zoned for what they're doing to it.
Yeah.
Who would that be? Your zoning officer?
Right.
Okay, so hopefully you guys can take a look at that, or somebody can, maybe Jason. All right, bye. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Solicitor report?
Nothing to report.
Okay, we'll catch you later. All right. Township staff reports, police, Chief Cass? Can you try to unmute yourself? If you can unmute yourself, we'll come back to you. Fire company?
Good evening. For the month of May, we had 13 calls and an odd change of events. Only one of those was in Lower Frederick Township. The balance of them were in surrounding municipalities. Some events that we attended last month, Pat and I attended a conference or a training seminar on new software that's available. So the state's changing their reporting requirements. Unfortunately, that means that we now have to change all of our software. We completed a online raffle. I don't know if anyone saw, but we had a lawn care package online. This is an alternative for fundraising. And we do currently have a kayak package online for purchase as well right now. Things are going well with that. It's a passive way to raise funds where we're not all dedicating ourselves to a day or a few days worth of time. So it's taking up slowly, but so far so good. For the month of May, we accumulated 258 hours of training and administrative time. And of the 13 calls, that totaled to 74 hours of time. So we're up to 276 hours for calls for the year and over 1,400 hours for training and other activities year to date. Any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, and Carol, I guess, sorry, a quick question for you. The soft dig on Thursday, will that impact traffic on Spring Mountain Road? Or will just be down to a single lane flagged?
Single lane flagging is what we were anticipating.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Could you perhaps just read the highlights of the police report? Okay.
Okay, so for the month of May, police calls for service, they had 339. Traffic stops, they had 58. Traffic citation, 33 were issued. These citations are for various moving violations. The new record system, a note, the new record system will not provide specific citation offenses until e-ticketing is validated / operational by the Administrative Office of PA Courts, which I believe Chief told me probably September, October timeframe. Officer Nark attended training for case preparation / report writing, which emphasized the ever-changing requirement needed for arresting officers to be prepared for criminal court proceedings. Officer Bacon attended the Intelligence Liaison Conference hosted by the Pennsylvania State Police. Officer Bacon is now certified as an Intelligence Liaison Officer. With the certification that Officer Bacon received, the police department now has 2 officers with the certification. Certification held by these 2 officers will allow the police department to effectively collect, share, and vet all information which can be obtained and will be subsequently used to enhance investigations, increase officer safety and awareness, and ensure public safety, and to recognize pre-operational indicators of criminal activity. Currently, the police department is continuing to work with the Montgomery County Detective Bureau and Montgomery County District Attorney's Office for several ongoing investigations. These investigations are tedious. I would like to recognize the efforts of the members of the department for the dedication in working through these investigations to bring closure to victims and hold the offenders accountable. The department has begun using the new county records management system, or RMS, that was discussed and approved several months ago. Currently has been relatively smooth transition. We are in the transitional period while the development waits for the previous system's data to be uploaded. The mobile car printers, which were previously approved by the board, have been installed in the patrol vehicles. These printers will allow officers to provide immediate documentation on the scene of any police service call. This system will also be connected to the e-ticketing system once validated / operational by the Administrative Office of PA Courts. Several press releases. Okay. Do you want me to read through the press releases or? Okay.
I don't think it's necessary.
And that's all that's in Chief's report.
All right, and Chief Cassie, if you have anything else to add, and you can get yourself unmuted, feel free to jump in later. All right, do we have an ambulance report?
Not for this month.
Okay. Works?
Public Works report. The Public Works Department performed the following work in addition to routine operations. They did one sump pump sewer inspection for UNO, continued mowing of township properties, prepped the roadside mower, replaced an inlet grate on Main Street, installed the buoy at Foy Park, started culvert pipe replacement on Alexander Drive, and they repainted the handicap parking lines at the township building.
Okay, any questions about any of these reports? Okay, that brings us to boards and commissions, EAC.
Yes, Diane here. Gary's enjoying his grandchildren. The EAC met on May 13th with our working groups giving updates to the rest of the EAC. The Green Energy Committee reported that EAC members attended a Clean Energy Expo sponsored by Penn Environment, Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, and State Senator Amanda Capoletis. We have information regarding tax credits available for clean energy, energy audits that can be done through PICO, energy efficiency, weatherization, and EV purchases. It was a very nice gathering. Our Stormwater Committee is continuing to work with the Perkiomen Watershed Conservancy on finding a site to hold an on-site educational program to explain to residents the type, function, and maintenance for our stormwater BMPs that may be in their developments or in our township. The Outdoor Lighting Committee is continuing to gather information that can be used for outreach to residents regarding the impact of light pollution and things they could do to help mitigate it. Some EAC members attended a Birdtown-sponsored workshop addressing light pollution. One quick thing we can bring to you is that lights in the yellow, orange, red zone provide the least light pollution. So if you have a bright white blue outside light, you could replace that with something in the warm yellow, and you'll still get a lot of lighting, but you won't have that bright blue light. The Birdtown Committee reported that they are looking into the feasibility of recycling receptacles at township parks. They will also be getting together to share observations of migrating birds, and we will be looking to have another bird walk maybe this summer. This month's Did You Know is a link to an article about a Penn Environment and Frontier Group study of single-use plastic bag bans. This study estimates that on the average, bans on single-use plastic bags can eliminate almost 300 plastic bags per person per year. And lastly, Seth Carey, an applicant for one of the EAC vacancies, attended the meeting in May. His appointment is on tonight's agenda, and we endorse his appointment. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Not a question, but that single-use bag estimate per person is unbelievable.
It is, isn't it? Thank you. That's what we thought.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, Open Space Committee.
Good evening. This is Andrew Lang speaking to the Open Space Committee. We met on May 8th, and during the meeting, we were provided an update on financials and the Open Space Fund by the Township Manager, and further discussion of our pending financial commitments for the year, which include our portion of costs for the preservation of the Barber property, which is receiving federal matching funds under the Highlands Preservation Grant Program, and our contribution of a portion of funds to the Montgomery County Farm Preservation Board for the Liebig property. We recommended the approval of bills to be paid for revised Yellow Book appraisals for the Barber property, which are a requirement to receive those federal funds, that it receives an updated Yellow Book appraisal. And I believe that was mentioned earlier. And we also discussed, in light of recent developments with open space and the rescinding of open space protections in this area, we discussed whether it would be in the best interest of the Open Space Committee and Lower Frederick Township to explore whether incorporated into our bylaws could be specific language concerning deed restrictions to ensure that open space protections cannot be removed in the future, and that once open space protections are put in place, that they do indeed exist in perpetuity and are not removed for one reason or another down the road. And it was determined that that would be a question that we would pose more directly in conversation with the solicitor. And then lastly, we received note that the Planning Commission has a updated map on some of the trail connections for this area for Montgomery County, and that's something that we're going to look over and review at our next meeting, which will be on June 12th. So that's all I have. I can look to answer any questions or comments that anyone might have.
Thank you. Yes, it does sound like a good idea to take a legal look at the bylaws. Is this something you're familiar with, Peter? Making sure
Yes,
that open
somewhat.
space actually is permanently preserved, that it
Yes.
can't be undone? Okay, great. Any questions? Okay. Park and Recreation Board?
We had our meeting last night out at a very pleasant evening in Floyd Park. We had our first book club meeting on last Saturday, June 1st. It was very well attended. The working group did a terrific job of planning and leading the group. Becky led the discussion, and it was engaging and insightful, and I believe everyone enjoyed it. We've made our selection for the next book club meeting, which will be July 13th, again at Cuddy. The book will be Young Woman and the Sea by Glenn Stout. It's an interesting book on the first woman to swim the English Channel. We have our first Stories in the Park in Lower Frederick Township at Coble Park on Thursday the 27th at 10 a.m. We also have our first concert of the season on Thursday the 27th at Cuddy Park, starting at 7 o'clock. It's Big Baby Band this time, rock, pop, 80s, country, R&B, dance group. And we also have Waffle Cabin ice cream. So it should be a good evening. We're hoping for good weather this time. So it should be a good night. And on your calendar, we're planning the Perkiomen Railroad Society Walk on Saturday, September 14th, starting at 10 o'clock, starting at Floyd Park. The rain date will be the 15th. So while getting some exercise, come learn about the history of our region and the railroads. And that's it for tonight. Any questions?
Thank you. That book club idea is a great idea. I'm glad you had a good turnout. Any questions for the Park Board? Nope. Okay. Planning Commission? Oh, sorry. Do you have a question for the Park Board? Pardon? Oh, there was no meeting in May. All right. I'm just going to repeat that since it probably didn't get picked up. So Ernie Schmidt noted for the record there was no Planning Commission meeting in May, so there's no report. Okay. Thank you.
And Marla, before we got, I just wanted to note that Chief apologized to the board for having bad service connection with unmuting. He had nothing to add to his report.
Okay, great. All right, that leads us to the business portion of our meeting. First one is fire company request. to waive zoning hearing board application fees. Someone here to speak about that? Or, Jason, you going to speak about that? Is someone going to speak about it?
can give it the-
I'm,
no.
I'm not going to speak about it, so.
You don't need to. So the fire company is would like to submit a zoning hearing board application. They would like to have a digital sign, which is prohibited anywhere in the township. So they need to go through zoning hearing to receive that variance. So they're asking the board to consider waiving the $800 application fee.
Just speaking for myself, I have no trouble waiving the fee. I just have a question. I know lighting pollution is an issue here. Do you know what kind of, how much light this thing will provide? Are there different options?
So we are looking at different options. We had different quotes from various vendors. There are various options for setting times when it can be on and can be turned off. There's also, is that better? There we go. So there's different, we are getting different quotes, and there are different models and options and stuff. So it can be turned off, turned on various times of the day. It is dimmable, so it's not going to be as bright as maybe another sign that's already existing in the township. And I don't think it's appropriate to answer any more gross detail outside of the zoning hearing board, just to respect the process, so. Unless there's
Thank
any
you.
more specific questions.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have no objection with it, and most likely the light will be like a black board with red letters or whatever color you want it to be, but you have lights on your sign that was there, so it's probably
Yeah, the
less.
existing sign was backlit, and the footprint
white.
will not exceed
Yeah.
the existing sign.
No, I think it's a good idea. They did it in Schwenksville before it became the,
Yeah, that was a zoning hearing board too.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's good, gets the information out, and it's actually something we've talked in the past about the township getting a sign too, so if there's opportunity to sneak in a good deal, Jason should talk to your vendor.
Yeah, he's right up the street.
What does the rest of the board think?
I'm perfectly fine with it.
Terry?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, I'm assuming we need a vote? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. So I will move to approve waiving the zoning hearing board application fee for the fire company's request for a, what's it called? Message board? Digital message board. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Supervisor Hexter made the motion. Supervisor Holter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, and that's 4 votes. All right, thank you. All right, next item, Prestige Farmview Estate Agreement Approvals. Peter, I'm assuming you're taking that?
Yes, I am.
Or
We have actually a large number of documents that need to be approved and signed because Prestige is flipping this development to Lennar. However, they are Prestige, or an arm of Prestige, is hanging on to the open space that's going to be transferred to the township, and will be handling the installation of the trail in that open space. Further confusing things is Lennar is having a land bank take ownership of the property, while a different arm of Lennar is actually, U.S. Homes is actually going to be building the development. So you will see, we have a series of development agreement, memorandum of development agreement, some easements to be signed by the Prestige for the open space, and then we have another series of documents to, some of which will be signed by the land bank, because these are documents that are going to be recorded, and the land bank is going to be the deed owner of the property, so they have to sign these documents. Others, such as the development agreement, will be signed by US Homes because US Homes is the company that's actually building the development. In all, I think we have about 10 separate documents that Marla will have to sign. And I'm just looking for authorization from the four of you to authorize Marla to sign these documents.
Do we have to name them individually?
No,
So the motion would be to authorize the chair to sign the various
development documents,
development documents for the Prestige Farmview Estate development.
correct.
All right, would someone like to make that motion?
I actually have a question for Peter really quick.
Yes,
I had a chance just to kind of do a cursory review and tell me if I'm wrong, if I read this incorrectly. In the deed of dedication for the township open space, there was an ISAOA after the township's designation in the deed.
a what?
An ISAOA, it's accessors and/or signs.
Yes,
What does that mean?
it's just set legal language.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I'm familiar with it.
Yes. More likely than not, the township is never going to assign.
That's my
yeah,
point after we
it's
just
never
had-
going to happen.
You know, we just had
However,
that comment from the open space
however,
board.
you never know. You never know. 100 years from now, hell, sorry, excuse me, 5 years from now, the state can decide we have way too many municipalities and we got to merge them all together. And so all of a sudden, Lower Frederick is no longer in existence, and we're merged with Upper Frederick and Schwenksville and who knows what. So you just never, this is something that's going to last hopefully forever and ever, so you got to make sure it covers all the contingencies.
Do we have a contingency that makes it deed restrictive, as Andrew had pointed out from the open space report?
This is being dedicated to us as open space under state law.
Okay.
It cannot be used for anything else but open space unless a court decides it can no longer be used as parkland and open space, and therefore it can be used for something else. So state law prohibits this from being changed. And there's a lot of case law out there. There's a lot of times where, the most recent one was, there was a park in Philadelphia where the city wanted to give a portion of the park to Fox Chase Cancer Center to expand their cancer center. And the court shot it down saying, no, you haven't proven the park can't be used as a park, and therefore it can't be used as anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, so I've stated the motion. Would someone like to make it?
I'm actually not going to vote on, I've never voted on anything Prestige as a neighboring property, so I'm not going to participate in this one.
Okay. Would one of the two of you like to make the motion?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All right, so Supervisor Holter made the motion, Supervisor Sachs made the second. We have a recusal from Supervisor Byrd. All those in favor, I can vote on this, right? Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the vote was unanimous, 3 votes with 1 recusal.
Thank you.
All right, that was easy, better than it looked. All right, next, the request for the Manning EDU refund. And do we have, I know we had a discussion last time, I think there was a verbal consensus to refund some of this money. Do we have any updated numbers? I know there's a discussion about the amount.
I believe in your packet, there's updated numbers, but I reviewed them, and there's one thing I think we need to tweak. I need to find. Here we go, okay. I think based on the discussion last week. What the calculation was is we were going to take what was paid by the Mannings, multiply that by 60% because under state law, that's the maximum we could charge for this sort of fee. Then we took that maximum amount, subtracted it from the amount they paid. That is the amount initially needed to be refunded. However, Manning's owes the township under our new policy an amount of $5,250. So that was subtracted from the refund. Manning was also asking to return the 5 EDUs involved with this. That's $7,500 minus a $750 administrative fee, so that's $1,670.50. That would be added to the refund. Once you combine those all together, the total refund is $16,803. Just 60% should be applied to that. Say what? Well, let me hear. It's an email I sent to Jason.
His might have the original. Remember, I had that extra payment, so.
Oh, that, yes.
Sorry.
Are we ready to approve this, or should we take another look at?
You want to take another look at it?
Yeah, do, 'cause
Yeah,
your total isn't matching.
Well, my total is different than what Jason sent you in the packet because I applied the 60% before the $5,250, and he applies it after. And so I think that comes up with a little difference. And then I think, Noel, you found an extra payment, and I think the numbers I was working off of didn't have that. So we can redo this and
So what you're saying is the 5250 didn't do the 60% portion?
yeah, it shouldn't be, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I got, that
separate.
explains why it's a little bit lower, all right.
Yeah.
okay, so we're getting close. So I think there's agreement to table this. We will take another look at the calculations, and shall we, Jason? Just keep in mind, this is all getting picked up on Zoom. So can we table this and then put it on the next meeting, the work session? Okay. All right. Okay, next item is award of bid for the Zieglerville Road Base Repair. Is that you, Carol?
Is that me? All right. Can you hear me now? We good? No? All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Before this starts, I'd like to recuse myself from it, but I'd like to make some comments about the road. Can I do that?
Do you want to do that now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Or any bids or whatever. I'm against it, but I'm just gonna tell you that what I feel as if there's drainage on that road that has to be looked at, and I feel as if that there was water coming up through that road at places, and to put this kind of money into that road, I think we ought to look at another way. And there are other ways that you can do it. You could scratch coat that road, tack it good, clean it good, tack it good, and put a 3/4 inch coating over top of that with top coat, and that could last 3-4 years. And then you get a chance to see where the drainage is, or if there is any bad drainage in that road that we're having so much problems with. And then not only that, it gives you time to maybe put the sewer in. So I feel as it's a lot of money going out there to do that road, repair that road right now at this time. And for the amount that it looked at, I think you could really, and I'm positive, you could scratch coat that, clean it up, and I'm talking with a mill, and tack it, and put the overlay on there, 3/4 to an inch thick, an inch, and for about $65,000. That's all I want to say, and I feel as if that's saving taxpayers' money, and it'll give you a chance to maybe get the sewer in 3 years from now, and check and watch, see where there is any bad drainage. That's all I have to say. It's up to the rest of what they want to do. Thank you.
Well, before I go into prepared remarks, I wish we'd had this conversation before we got to a meeting tonight.
Carol, sorry to interrupt you again, but before we go into this, is there a time frame on approving this? Because it would be nice if we had our fifth supervisor here to be part of the discussion.
Sure. So if we don't approve it tonight, we just need to make an announcement about when the award will be reconsidered. So we have up to 60
The bid has been
days.
opened, right?
The bid has been opened,
Okay,
and we have, I believe, up to 60 days to make the award.
correct, yes.
So if in all the information that was put out to date, we said the bid award was going to be considered tonight, we can punt that down the road. We just need to make an announcement tonight on when that would be reconsidered.
Do you want to go through anything on the bid, or should we just make our comments on direction we want to go in? Was
Yeah,
there something that you want to cover, Carol, before we?
No, I don't have a problem if you want to put this down to the next meeting for consideration of award, and we can investigate Mr. Sachs' comments and be able to give you some more rounded information on this.
And that would provide Chuck the opportunity to participate in the conversation. as
Yeah,
well.
I think given this wrinkle that it would be prudent to wait till he's here. Also, given that he has some engineering background as well.
Actually, if I can comment, I won't be at the next work session. So I appreciate the comments that Supervisor Sachs brought forward and looking for an alternative way. So hoping in the next few weeks, there will be discussions, timing, same process for bidding or whatever has to happen. Drove the road tonight. My first question was going to be, is something needed? And the answer is obviously yes. That road's pretty horrible. So I would lean towards going a different direction than what we've been talking about with the bid. Wouldn't make any promises for timing of sewers, but want to make sure we cover all of our drainage issues in that area. So I support not moving forward with the base repair, but I'll let you guys discuss that in detail at the next meeting.
So you're not saying not going ahead with it at all, you're saying to table the discussion.
I'm saying if there's a way that's a quarter to a fifth of the price, and it's still a road that's not uncomfortable to travel, and we can approach it the right way, we should do that.
Carol, can you provide any additional information? What I'm concerned about is, and again, I'm neither an engineer nor a road paver, but I just want to be sure we're not putting a Band-Aid on this and it'll still cost us the same amount of money later.
That would be my concern as well, and I would expand on that between now and the next meeting. So
That would be great if you could also comment on the drainage issues.
I want to thank Supervisor Sachs for his comments and for Mr. Byrd for his as well. As- I would say that I lean towards looking at the financing end of this as well. That was one of my concerns, is that it feels like we're backing into this job as opposed to working with what we already have and trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it. So maybe this gives us a little bit of time to consider an alternative until we can get around to actually doing it.
I'll get you more information before the workshop meeting.
Yeah, although I just do want to say that the reason we're in this situation is because the road was not paved 10 years ago. And so here we are. I'm just not in favor of slapping a Band-Aid on it and then having the costs go up and still having to do the same job that's even more expensive 3 or 4 or 5 years from now. But you'll provide more information on what the future could look like for this road.
I absolutely will, and to emphasize your point, in the time I've been here, that road has not been paved, and I've been here since 1996, so she's been sitting there a long time.
Yeah, and I also want to reiterate that there is the projected time that sewer will go on Zieglerville Road is in 10 years. So these two projects are not, there's no connection between paving the road and putting in the sewer. That is, the road needs to be paved, the sewer needs to go in, but they are two completely separate projects.
I agree with that. It's certainly, if I were to connect the two, I would connect that with a wearing course placement more so than the base repair, because it would be nice when you top the road to not cut into it again. But that project still has to be designed so that you can start looking for funding for it. And then obtaining that funding, by the time it's designed, the funding's obtained, we could be looking at 10 years out. That's exactly correct.
And that's exactly how long it took to do the current project. It took 10 years.
Yeah, we designed that in 2015, and it's just in today, yes.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so hang on one sec. So the consensus is that we will get more information from Carol in response to Supervisor Sachs's comments. We are going to table this discussion until our next meeting, which is our work session. Hopefully, you will get that information before then, even though you won't be attending.
Right, and I guess also just make sure part of that discussion, there was the option A for Springmount Road repair. So I think that's important to keep that going as well, even if we get rid of the bid package.
Okay. Any other comments from the board on this? I think we have a plan of attack. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Yep, good evening, Brian Hill from 11 Zieglerville Road. As to the repair of the road, yes, I would ask that the Board of Supervisors look at a possible repair, since most of the damage is actually out in front of my property, which creates a lot of problems for us to enter our driveway. Also, I would consider Mr. Sachs' comments in the fact that you have homeowners along this stretch of property or stretch of road that do need sewer, and this township has made several comments along many decades that sewer would come along the street. I can't prepare or be prepared to stay in my home for another 20 years when this township continues to put that project off. At some point, I'm going to need to commit to some type of form of sewer so that my house can be sold. So again, as to the cost, my project may be sooner than 10 years. And so I would ask you that you would take these comments that Mr. Sachs made under consideration and looking at possibly a better way about approaching Zieglerville Road, because I don't know if I'm going to be here in 10 years. So I thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the escrow release number 4. It's Arcadia Station, Creekside.
So I guess that would be me. Would it?
I was just going to, why don't we, based on Carol's request, if we can have a vote to table this to a specific
Okay.
date, And then Carol can let the bidders know what that date is.
So what's the date, what's the date of the work session? That's in 3 weeks, so that'll be, what, the 25th? June 25th. So we need to vote to make the bid announcement at our next meeting on June 25th. Okay, all right, would someone like to make that motion? Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is this related to our vote to delay the? Okay. Supervisor Halter made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. Go ahead.
The original reason that we're delaying the vote on this is because Marla requested that we wait until the fifth supervisor, Chuck Geiser, is here. But does this mean that we're going to go ahead and have the vote without Terry Byrd being here? Are we going to give him the same consideration that we're giving Chuck?
Do you want to speak to that? Well,
Sure. I mean, I think we need more information collectively, and I won't happen to be here, so there's more discussions to have on a plan forward. And I'm here now. I won't be here the next time, but Chuck will. So I won't be here to vote on it, though. No, correct. Yeah.
We don't have to move it to the next meeting. It could be moved to the July 2nd meeting if that means all 5 will be here.
That's fine by me. Yeah.
An amendment of the motion.
okay. So I'm going to make that. So we will amend the previous motion to delay the decision on the bid until our next general meeting, which is, wow, July 2nd? July 2nd. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Supervisor Hexter made the amended motion. Supervisor Halter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. All right, so motion passes unanimously, 3 votes with 1 recusal. Thank you for reminding me of that. All right, now let's get back to the escrow release number 4, which should be a lot simpler.
Okay, so Arcadia Station, that project is substantially complete. Tonight, we're recommending reduction number 4 in the escrow or financial security for this project in the amount of $519,471.57. This is not closing the project. Following this release, there will still be a balance of $399,966.65 in the escrow. So as they work towards closure, they still have some sidewalk blocks to replace. They're getting close. But this is a substantive release that will get them down to that just under $400,000 balance.
Carol, how are they doing with the tree replacement?
I believe they have most of those done. So we'll do an exact count as we get to dedication, but most of the trees that were identified as needing to be replaced have been replaced.
And could we wait till the end of the year to make sure they all survive?
Well, we will have a maintenance bond in place for that.
Okay.
So if they do request a dedication before we get to the end of the year, that would be under the maintenance bond. And we have plenty of money in the escrow still to address the value of the maintenance bond.
Okay, that's all I had. Any other questions from the board? Would someone like to make the motion to authorize the release of escrow number 4 in the amount of $519,471.57?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Supervisor Halter made the motion. Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next item is the TextMyGov software quote.
So I was asked by the TextByGov rep who I've been dealing with, who was not able to be present at our last meeting. She asked if the board would consider tabling this. She believes she can get us a better rate or deal. So she asked if the board would be willing to table this for the 6/25 meeting. She'd appreciate that.
So is this the local rep? Because we did have a gentleman on Zoom before.
They're based out of Utah, so, but Luke, the representative was, I had not talked to him prior, so I had a long conversation with her prior to the meeting because she asked how, where we were at on that, so.
Is the board acceptable to tabling this to the next meeting?
To be honest, I guess it's really not a matter of money for me. I think it's actually a redundant service. I don't think we're big enough to warrant this kind of, whatever this is. We can't get residents to sign up for our email. How are we going to get them to sign up for this? I just think it's redundant. I don't think it's necessary.
So you're not in favor of tabling the discussion?
I am not.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm not in favor.
Of what? Of tabling the discussion or of this at all? So there's a request from the local rep to table the discussion until she's available to answer
I
questions.
do not want to table this conversation. I don't want to
Right.
table this, yes.
Okay. Terry?
Yeah, I think it's a good concept, but maybe at a later date, we can look at it, but not next month or not the next meeting.
Okay, so I don't think we need to vote. The consensus is, thank you very much. And if there's maybe something else that's a little different, that maybe is more suitable for us, we can look at it in the future.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next item is a quote for a sewer fund billing software.
Okay, so as the board may be aware, we've completed our Office 365 server cloud migration. We had two software packages that are not able to be used on our cloud server, which is QuickBooks and the Harris Flexibill software. We currently have them hosted locally on a computer that Ridge Support provided us. We had some issues initially with the billing software. It has been remedied since. I was anticipating going to the cloud at some point in the future, but I'd like the board to consider it now. And eventually, we will be moving our QuickBooks to a cloud-based software to alleviate the need for any local server. I would also like the board to consider adding Becky as a backup to access the billing software if Bonnie's out of the office. So our current yearly fee is $2,455.37. After the setup, our yearly fee to the cloud-based system will be $3,650 plus $220 for the addition of Becky, or $3,870. The quote in front of you is for $3,000 for the annual hosting fee, $650 for 2 user license. By also adding the quote to add Becky as a user for Flexibill, this second quote is for $1,100. Which is the one-time license fee of $880 and the $220 recurring maintenance. And this would be coming out of the sewer fund.
So just to clarify, what we're looking at is $1,100 just for the sewer billing software.
The $1,100, I'm sorry. So one quote is for $4,650, which would change our current sewer billing software to a cloud-based, to make it cloud-based. And then the second quote is to add Becky. That quote's for $1,100, and that would add Becky as a second user to the system.
So that's $3,650 plus $1,100. No?
There's like $1,000.
It's I'm sorry, I missed in my summary, there's a $1,000 setup fee for the cloud base.
Plus $1,000.
So that's why that's
That's the $5,750.
yeah, I apologize. I kind of merged. two separate things, so I apologize.
And what's the ongoing? So some of this is just for setup, so what's
So
the
the,
ongoing?
so the current, the ongoing, and that would be the 3,870 once we'd be set up on the cloud-based forum.
Okay. All right. So the request today is to approve $5,750 for the setup for the sewer billing cloud-based system to go forward. And after this year, it will be less because we're paying some setup fees.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Is this the Harris Local Government? That's the name of the billing software?
It's called Flexibil, but Harris is they're like a like, that's the company that we deal with.
Okay. So it's what we're using currently?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we're not going to a different forum. We're just
Yeah.
taking it from the local that's been on our server now to a cloud-based.
Okay. So it's,
Yeah, we're not changing, we're not looking to change who we currently have.
it's $1,300 more a year for this after we set it up. Okay.
I'm sorry, are we paying something now?
Yes, that was part of the 2,455.
Oh, okay,
That's our current license. So there's going to be prorating involved. I haven't talked to them, but that license runs year to year. So I believe it's like April to April, so.
Can you, from here on in, when you get a quote, give us that quote instead of you putting it down on paper, so we can see the actual quote.
Oh,
We got the quote. It's in the Dropbox.
I didn't get it either, but it's okay.
yeah, it's attached. Okay.
Any questions from the board?
No. I'm ready.
Are you ready to make a motion?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Did you say it, or do you want me to do it? Okay, you didn't
You
do it.
go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I move to accept the quotes from Harris Local Government for our sewer billing Flexibil in the total amount of $5,750 and further authorize the township manager to sign the paperwork necessary to complete this project.
And I will second. So Supervisor Byrd made the motion, Supervisor Hexter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Next item is a quote for an admin and public works laptop.
So both these computers currently are over 7 years old and were budgeted out of the capital fund for this year's purchasing. The full amount with setup for both computers is for the treasurer's computer be $999.99. The public works $1,257.48. Installation labor that includes both laptops will be for $650. The total of the quote is $2,907.47. We budgeted a total of $3,296 out of the capital reserve for this year.
So this actually came in under budget.
Yes.
That's great. All right, any questions from the board?
No.
Would someone like to make a motion to authorize the purchase of these two laptop computers?
I move to authorize the purchase of 2 laptops from Ridge Support Technologies in the amount of $2,907.47 and further authorize the township manager to sign any paperwork to complete the purchase.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Supervisor Holter made the motion, Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any? Did you say aye? Oh, sorry, missed that. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Next item is a quote for Public Works Building Electrical Repair.
Okay, so this is a It's a quote for electric work at the Public Works Building regarding their emergency power supply. I believe Tommy's been putting this off for a while. Since we'll be using this building for the foreseeable future, we figure it's time to fix the issue. As stated in the estimate, right now, apparently the garage door can't be, when they lose power, they can't get the door open except for manually. There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done to put that emergency power supply in. So the quote you have is from Gammon Electric in the amount of $2,350.
Any questions from the board?
When was the last time they had anything updated over there?
It's been a while.
Right.
Yes, we've got some things.
Yeah.
Would you say, Terry, 1979?
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. No, Tommy and I have been talking about some other things because when we have our insurance inspection, we get beat up pretty good. So since we will not be replacing that building next year, we figured it's time to start doing some things to at least get that in a little better working condition.
Someone ready to make a motion to approve that repair?
I move to authorize the repair work at the Public Works Building per the quote by Gammon Electric, Inc. in the amount of $2,350, and further authorize the Township Manager to sign any paperwork to complete the project.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay, you got it, the other Terry. So Supervisor Holter made the motion, Supervisor Sachs made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Thank you.
Next item, appointment to the EAC.
So this is for Seth Carey. He submitted his application on May 10th. I attended the EAC's May meeting that Diane spoke of earlier, and he was present at that meeting. The EAC asked if he was still interested, to which he answered yes, and they recommended his appointment by the board, which Diane expressed earlier. So I'd be looking to appoint Seth A. Carey to the Environmental Advisory Council for a term ending 12/31/2026.
Any discussion from the board? Or are we ready to vote? Okay.
I move to appoint Seth A. Carey to the Environmental Advisory Council for a term ending 12/31/2026.
I will second. Supervisor Holter made the motion. Supervisor Hexter made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Next item is appointment of a Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator. And if anyone recalls, this was on the agenda at the last meeting, and we tabled it until today.
So as Marla stated, at the board's direction, I reached out to Tom Gammon V via text. He did respond stating, "I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to pass since I wouldn't be able to dedicate the appropriate amount of time due to my work family schedule," and he thanked us. As I stated at the previous meeting, this was an ask by Patrick Roberts, who's our emergency management coordinator. Officer Bacon is wanting to be appointed, and Chief Cass has signed off on this appointment if the board so chooses to make it.
Any discussion from the board? All right. Would someone like to make this motion?
I move to appoint Police Officer Edward Bacon as the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator.
Do you want to take this one? Second. Thank you. Supervisor Holter made the motion. Supervisor Byrd made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And this brings us to our last business item, which is a fire police request from Limerick Township event and an Upper Salford events.
Oh, I apologize. That was, yeah, this was, oh, no, it is Upper Salford. I have the wrong thing. It's not Lower Providence in the, my motion. Please ignore the motion.
Oh, it looks like, oh, and then there's Lower Providence as well.
Okay. So we received requests for fire police assistance from Upper Salford Township. The events are as follows. The Philadelphia Folk Fest, August 15th through August 18th. They are asking for support for traffic control in the morning hours of Thursday, August 15th. Old Goshen Hop and Oyster Picnic, which is September 7th, with a rain date of September 9th at Church Road in Waxhaw, PA. And the Big Bad Bonfire, October 12th at Springmount Ski Area and Salford Station and the Salford Station Road parking lot. I did also include a request from Limerick Township. They're requesting the assistance of our fire police for their Limerick's 4th of July Waltz's 60th anniversary fireworks celebration on July 4th.
So the agenda is correct, it's just the motion should
Yeah, the
be-
motion, copy and paste.
Yeah, it should be for
Upper Salford.
Upper
and Lower
Salford, and,
Pleasant.
yeah, No,
Oh, no, not
no,
lower, okay.
and
Yeah, it's Upper Salford and Limerick.
And Limerick,
I apologize.
okay. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the use of Lower Frederick Fire Company Fire Police for all of the dates that Jason mentioned.
Thank you. Supervisor Byrd made the motion, Supervisor Sachs made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. This brings us to the public comment portion of our meeting. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for holding off on the Zieglerville Road project at this point in time. It's on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So basically, Mr. Sachs came up with a great idea. A lot of people have been thinking about this. I've been thinking about it. I don't know if it's possible, but in order to give you guys some more information, maybe we should test like 6 areas on Zieglerville Road in different spots. Obviously, Brian Hill made a comment about how bad it is in front of his house. So if we picked like 6 areas and dug them out and filled them in correctly, we would have a better idea if the subgrade's bad. There's over 50 some patches that were marked out originally. So we already have to do work on Springmount Road and Main Street, and Mr. Byrd brought that up as well. I mean, the number that you have there is a prevailing wage number that really shouldn't have applied to that. So if we could have either the road crew and our equipment contractor do this many patches and take care of the other 2 roads, I think that'll help everybody out. And then as you're looking down the road, you'll have a better idea once you do those patches, whether or not the subgrade's going to be bad in additional areas. Now, here again, it's not a guarantee. You could dig those 6 patches out, there'd be no problem, and you could dig the balance of them out, and every one of them has a problem. So it's just something to think about, and I want to thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments about anything? Everyone's quiet tonight. Okay. Someone,
Brian Hill.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yep, Brian Hill, 11 Zieglerville Road. I'd ask the Board of Supervisors, if possible, to survey some of the streets along our township for the presence of many of you seen many of the dead trees. Unfortunately, my car was a product of one of a diseased tree. I lost my 2007 Prius due to a large limb dropping on my vehicle in my driveway. But there are other trees throughout this township that hang over streets that are imposing danger for passing vehicles. I'd ask you that possibly there be a survey to look and see if some of these trees and limbs could be trimmed back so that our citizens of our township are safe as they drive the roads of our township. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It looks like there's no more public comment. That brings us to supervisor comment. Is there any supervisor comment?
Not now.
Speak now. Okay. All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.